So in this assignment, you're going to do a virtual blood typing. We're going to do this in person. So if you come to in-person instruction in 3 weeks, we'll do a blood typing lab. But for now, this will have to do. And for most of you who don't come, this will be the only blood typing lab that you do. So here are your possible blood cells. So you could have someone who's O positive. Notice how there's nothing here or O negative, sorry. This one's for O positive. All they have is this yellow one. This is the Rh factor. This person is B negative. They have the blue for B, but no yellow for Rh, or sometimes called the D antigen. And then this person's B positive, so they've got the blue for B, but they also have the yellow for that Rh factor. So this is what blood types could look like. And depending on what blood type you are, it determines the proteins on the surface of your red blood cells, and it is inherited from your parents. So here you have some questions. Distinguish between antigens and antibodies. So this here, if you did your notes, this is an antigen, is these things on the surface. Now if we go to, back to the notes from earlier, we do here. These are antigens. So these are on the surface of your red blood cells. You can have A antigens, B antigens, A or B, or O, which has nothing. And these are antibodies, these little Y-shaped things. These help you fight foreign invaders. So antibodies are like tags, they're little flags, and they grab on to foreign things and they say, hey, come destroy this thing, it's foreign. So these are floating in your blood, and they are looking for not just blood invaders, but viruses, bacteria. You make a specific antibody for every single invader you have ever come in contact with in your life. And that's one of the things that we can give people right now for COVID is you can go get a infusion of these of antibodies for COVID. They have them. They made them. They cloned them from people who got sick and made them and survived. And so they took them out of their blood, and then you can get that as a treatment, and it's something that saves a lot of people's lives. So that's just these little Y-shaped things, and you make a specific one for every disease that you come in contact with. So that's the difference between antigen and antibody. So remember, these are antigens, they're on the surface. Antibodies are floating in your cells, and they're little like tags. So what are the antigens on the surface of the red blood cell? So for A positive, you would have the A antigen, and you would also have the Rh antigen. So here, A positive, you have the A antigen, and you also have this yellow one, which is the Rh. So you're going to kind of look here, so B minus, and then go back to the slide. And what do we got on the B? All we have is B. There's no yellow for the Rh, and you write what you have. And then what antibodies would you have? Well, if you're an A person, then you would have antibodies to B. B would be the foreign invader to you. So A doesn't like B, B doesn't like A, O doesn't like anybody. So you're going to fill that out. And then here you have a person with B blood, and you pick up what antibodies they should have. So circulating in their blood, they would have anti-Rh, since they don't have any Rhs. They would also have anti-A, because they don't have any A. So what you don't have is that's the antibodies you make. So these are antibodies for things that you don't have. And then agglutination is the clumping reaction that kills people. So when you do a blood typing test, let me pull one up. Hold on just a second. All right, so when you do a blood typing test, you can see clumping. So here is what a blood test might look like for someone who is A. So this would be the A antigen here, and so you can see, like, it's not important what it looks like. It's just that you can see a difference. So this is like non-clumping blood. This one here, you can see that. And this one is clumping. So notice the difference, non-clumping, clumping. What you clump, the reason that it gets all clumpy like this is if you look here in this one over here, the antibodies, that's this kind of Y-shaped stick, have grabbed onto two red blood cells, and they're like holding them hostage, and then they all clump together into a ball. They stick to each other, and so they take this blood and they try and clump it into a ball. And the reason they try and like wad it into a ball is to keep them all together, so then when the immune system finally comes in and the white blood cells come in to save the day, everything is all herded together into a pile, and then your immune system has an easier job of taking it out. Well, unfortunately, this is blood, and if you herd your blood into a pile, you get a blood clot and you might die. And so that's why people die from a transfusion reaction, is because they get that agglutination, and then they get clumping, and then they die. All right, so on to here. So you're going to drag over the right cells. So this person is type O negative. So which one of these would be O negative? And then over here, what antibodies would this person have in their blood? So pick the right blood cell. So this would be, I'll give you an example. This is O negative. I got some O negative blood. Then in the antibody side over here, you have antibodies to what you don't have. Well, if you look at this person has nothing. They got nothing. So they're going to have antibodies to everything. They're going to have all of the antibodies. So they are going to have all of those antibodies. Anti-A, anti-B, anti-RH, they're all going to be circulating in their blood looking for foreign invaders. So then you're going to put this, fill out the other two. All right, so now we're on to the crime. So Saturday morning, Miss Duran was found dead by the side of her pool house. When investigators arrived at the scene, they were able to collect drops of blood near the victim's head. Surprisingly, when the ME tested the blood against the victims, it did not match the blood type on file, because who is stupid enough to leave their blood at a crime scene? Police canvassed the neighborhood, and 2 incidences stood out. Miss Duran had stopped paying most of her house bills, including the one for the pool guy. The pool maintenance guy, Mr. Gray, was seen leaving Miss Duran's house on Friday, and Miss Duran had a heated argument on Friday with Mrs. Brown. So those are your suspects. Here are your suspects: Mrs. Brown and Mr. Gray, the pool guy. So you're going to do a blood type test to see if the blood type matches either one of these people, because if it doesn't match, then chances are they're not your perpetrator. You're going to watch these videos here. You're going to look for that clumping that I showed you earlier, that agglutination reaction in this video, and you are going to type that into here. So watch that video, type it in. This explains how that clumping kind of works, and then you kind of go through and do the other one for here's suspect 1, here's suspect 2. Once you get that answer, who did it, you should be able to figure that out based on what you see here. So that is that assignment.